Leap Second, Book 6 of the Chivalrous Welshman, of the Timekeeper Chronicles. Written by Brooke Shaffer. Narrated by Brooke Shaffer. Thank you for listening, and enjoy. For Pastor Tim, a soft-spoken but mighty lion. Prologue. Instruction. All right, Tommen, I'm going to lift the suppression, and I want you to pay close attention to the changes, Walter instructed, putting his hand gently on his son's head and lifting the suppression that had draped him for the last 2 years. Hands be damned, Walter was going to instruct him in time and banding. Tommen had just been released from the hospital, and he still looked a wreck. Walter had banded him a little bit in order to take the edge off the pain and swelling, but he couldn't go back to school with the sudden miraculous healing. But even that was small potatoes compared to the beating that awaited him if he didn't learn to defend himself. In a way, Walter almost hated having to instruct Tommen so early. He was every bit the sweet little boy his pa had described him to be. His English was still pretty crude, but he had a bigger heart than Walter had ever imagined, and could express his feelings without having to say a word. To see him picked on and bullied and beaten put Walter in such a rage, he could feel the shadow of the monster of his past life begin to stir. "Is it time?" the shadow monster asked. "Can I come out now?" "No," Walter resolved. "I'm going to teach him how to defend himself." He still hated to do it. Humans weren't supposed to begin training until they were at least 13 years old. Mostly it had to do with mental and psychological maturity, but there was an aspect of physical maturity that helped too. Most of all, though, Walter just didn't want to subject Tommen to the rigors of time and the wheel so darn early. He was such a sweet boy. He should be more worried about staying away from girls and their cooties rather than running away from Tyler Freeman and his gangbangers. For God's sake, they weren't even teenagers yet. "How do you feel, Tommen?" Walter asked once the suppression had been lifted. Tommen looked around, seemingly distracted. Then, "I feel different." Different how? It was tough to tell whether his lack of words came from his deficiency in English or because he honestly didn't know how to describe the changes. Finally he answered, "First, it's like the clock goes too fast. Then it goes too slow, but it's all the same." Walter looked at the clock on the wall. As a timekeeper, he had a greater sensitivity to time, able to perceive each millisecond as it passed, but still able to function in base time. "You're feeling time now," Walter explained. "Just like you see things with your eyes and hear things with your ears, you can also feel time." "With what?" Tommen wondered. "Good question, I'm not quite sure myself." "Your mind. You can feel it in your brain." "Whoa. But you can do more than that, too. You can manipulate time." "And I can hurt Tyler to get back at him?" Walter shook his head and knelt down. "Believe me, Tommen, I know you want to hurt—"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?